sometimes when when I go out to do stories, to collect stories for Only a Game, sometimes the best stuff that I get happens because something else has broken down. I'll go out to do one story, it won't happen, I'll find something that turns out to be much better. Excuse me. An example of that would be many years ago, actually before Only a Game started, when Roger Clemens was still pitching in Boston. And I had, oh, that's not nice. He's about to go to jail. No, that's not nice. He was supposed to meet me in the dugout of the Red Sox side of the field, and we had an appointment, and I went to the dugout at the appointed time, and he didn't show up, which was no particular surprise. And I looked across the other side of the field, and the Twins were in to play the Red Sox on that particular day, and but it was 3 hours before game time, so there was nobody on the field. And one of the Twins came out of the dugout, which, as you know, there's a tunnel that leads from the clubhouse out to the dugout. And saw him come out of the mouth of the tunnel, up the dugout. 3 hours before the game, he's fully dressed in his Twins uniform, except that he's wearing shower clogs instead of spikes. And he opened the little gate that goes up into the stands. He's all by himself, and he climbed up into the box seats, and he sat down and just was looking at the field. And I thought, well, this is interesting. And I went over and I unlatched the gate and climbed up into the box seats beside him, and I introduced myself, and I said, this is interesting to me because 3 hours from now, there'll be 33,500 people in this ballpark, and probably 33,498 of them would pay $100 to come down and sit in the dugout just to say that they'd sat in the dugout at Fenway Park. And here you are, thoroughly entitled to sit in the dugout, and you climb out and you're sitting in the stands. And he said, yeah. He said, I do this at all the ballparks the first night we come in. And I said, why? And he said, because you need to sometimes remember how beautiful it is at the ballpark and how lucky we are to have an opportunity to make a living playing this game in these beautiful parks around the country. And so I like to remind myself, and I do it this way 3 hours before the game by sitting in the stands and looking at the field. And I thought, isn't that something? And I went back to WBUR and I had my story. I had my story about the sensitive member of the Minnesota Twins. And years later, I was down at Fenway Park again, and I had an appointment with one of the Red Sox, and it may have been Roger Clemens, I don't know. And he didn't show up, which was not unusual. And the Yankees were in town on the other side of the field. Sitting there in the Red Sox dugout, stood up again. And who should come out of the tunnel and out of the little opening and open the gate 3 hours before the ball game but Don Zimmer. Don Zimmer used to manage here in Boston. He was coaching with the Yankees at the time. I thought, well, my goodness. They say lightning doesn't strike twice, but here it is again. Only Don Zimmer didn't stop at the box seats. He climbed way up into the right field grandstand and sat all by himself looking down at the field. Here's the other bookend for my story that I got 8 years ago or whatever it was. So I walked across the field and I unlatched the little gate and I walked way up into the grandstand and I sat down beside Don Zimmer and I reintroduced myself and I said, Don, in 3 hours there are going to be 35,000 people in this ballpark, and 34,998 of them would probably... And he said, yeah. And I said, but you got every right to sit down there in the Yankees dugout, and you climb all the way up here into the right field grandstand all by yourself looking out at the field. Why is that? What are you doing up here? And he said, I come up here to get away from sons of bitches like you.